Think about this. Every day, you see speeches, promises, and performances. Politicians stand on stages, their words polished, their gestures rehearsed, their smiles calculated. And whether you believe them or not, you feel the pull, that strange ability some people have to move entire crowds with nothing more than their voice. But here's the question, where did this ability come from? And why does it feel like only a small group of people know the script, while the rest of us are left reacting? What if I told you that over 2,000 years ago, one man not only understood this code, he wrote it. And then his method was buried, distorted, and almost forgotten. That man was Marcus Tullius Cicero, Rome's greatest orator, philosopher, and political strategist. And the method he created was so dangerous, so effective, that it shaped empires, but was later hidden from ordinary people. Because once you learn Cicero's method, you start to see politics and persuasion itself in an entirely new way. Cicero wasn't born into wealth or privilege. He didn't come from one of Rome's legendary families. He started as an outsider, just like most of us. But he had one weapon that would change his life: words. Cicero believed that language wasn't just communication. It was power. A well-crafted sentence could shift an argument. A carefully placed pause could silence an enemy. A single speech could turn the crowd into an army. And he proved it. From humble beginnings, Cicero rose to become consul of Rome, the highest office in the Republic. Not by force, not by inheritance, but by mastering the secret art of rhetoric. He wasn't just speaking. He was programming reality with his voice. But here's the part no one tells you. Cicero also wrote down his method. He recorded the steps, the techniques, the hidden levers of influence. And for centuries, his works were studied as the ultimate guide to persuasion. Until, slowly, they disappeared, buried beneath the shifting sands of power. Why? Because knowledge like this is too dangerous to give to everyone. Cicero's method wasn't magic. It was structured. It had a system, one that can still be recognized today in politicians, CEOs, and influencers. First, invention, finding the arguments that strike the deepest chords in the human mind. Not facts, but emotions. Not logic, but fear, hope, pride. Second, arrangement, shaping those arguments in the exact order that disarms resistance and builds momentum. Third, style, not just words, but rhythm, tone, even silence. The spaces between sentences carried as much weight as the sentences themselves. Fourth, memory, embedding the message so deeply that the speaker became a living embodiment of it. And finally, delivery, the performance itself, where the body, the face, the eyes, and the voice fused into one. Does this sound familiar? It should. Because even today, every major political speech follows these steps. But here's the difference. When Cicero designed them, they weren't meant as manipulation. They were meant as tools of freedom, a way for the outsider to confront the elite. Yet history twisted them into something else. What was once liberations became control. As Rome shifted from republic to empire, Cicero's works became inconvenient. His belief in free speech, in persuasion as the weapon of the people, stood in direct opposition to authoritarian power. And so his method was censored. His writings were hidden, edited, and repackaged. By the Middle Ages, only fragments remained, selectively taught in elite schools, while the masses were left with shadows. The irony: the very system Cicero built to empower the outsider became the manual of emperors, kings, and rulers. Because once you know how crowds think, once you know how to plant an idea so deep that it feels like someone's own thought, you hold the strings of reality itself. Cicero understood this. That's why, when the Republic fell, he was executed. Not for treason, not for violence, but for words. And his method, his buried code of power, was erased from public view. But knowledge has a strange way of resurfacing. Centuries later, fragments of Cicero's works reappeared. Renaissance thinkers studied them in secret, translating his techniques into the language of politics, law, and philosophy. And today, even if you've never heard his name, you've felt his influence. Every campaign slogan, every viral speech, every time you've been moved, not by facts, but by emotion, that's Cicero's method at work. But here's the question: if his method was buried to keep it out of your hands, why are you feeling it everywhere? Because power never really hides. It just changes form. The techniques of Cicero are alive, but not for you. They are alive in boardrooms, in governments, in media. And the longer you remain unaware, the longer you remain controlled. So what do you do? How do you reclaim Cicero's method without becoming another manipulator? The answer is awareness. Once you know the code, you can't be tricked by it. Once you see the structure, the illusion dissolves. Notice the rhythm of political speeches. Pay attention to the pauses that make you lean in. Recognize when someone is planting fear, pride, or hope into your mind. Because rhetoric isn't just power. It's survival. Cicero wanted the outsider to have a weapon against the elite. And maybe that's you. The world you live in is still shaped by speeches, by performances, by carefully crafted illusions. But now you know the secret. They are following a script buried 2,000 years ago. And once you see the script, you can choose whether to follow it or to break it. Welcome to Fragments of Reality.